From impeachment to the pandemic to the riots, wildfires, and killer hornets, 2020 is wild and about to even get crazier. You might ask, can 2020 get any crazier? You bet. We're just getting started. If you wrote a screenplay of what's happened so far in 2020 and gave it to the Hollywood producers, they'd laugh you right out of the room. So your movie, they'd say, has the President of the United States being impeached, a pandemic killing more than 100,000 Americans and 375,000 worldwide, race riots and looting in dozens of U.S. cities, 1 billion animals killed in Australian wildfires, Brexit, royals abdicating, drone strikes whacking out terrorists, and a wave of killer hornets to boot. Get the hell out of here. And here's the other thing. We're only 155 days into the calendar year. Coming up, the craziest U.S. presidential election in history. Of course, we have Trump and the person, his 77-year-old challenger who can hardly remember where he is. But let's sum up what's happened so far in 2020. Some of it now seems like it was years ago. January 2nd, 2020, the year got off to a fiery start. Literally, Australian officials declared a state of emergency as brush fires spread across the country, eventually burning tens of millions of acres and killing an estimated 1 billion animals. But later, that same day, President Trump orders the killing of Iranian General Qasem Soleimani by the U.S. military via drone strike after Iran attacked a base in Iraq, wounding Americans. January 7th, the Chinese branch of World Health Organization, WHO, is notified that there's a new novel coronavirus in town, SARS-CoV-2. But WHO says, don't worry, it's not all that bad. Seriously. The next day, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle announced they're giving up the royalness, saying on Instagram that they are moving to Los Angeles to be mega celebrities, and it will enable us to raise our son with an appreciation for the royal tradition. Huh? January 11th, whoops, China records its first COVID-19 death. But don't worry, WHO says the virus is well contained, so that we're all good. January 16th, the trial of Trump begins nearly a month after the House passes 2 articles of impeachment. Remember, they delayed it. Nancy held it for the perfect timing. Abuse of power and obstruction of Congress. It'll drag on for weeks as lawmakers completely ignore the pesky virus in China and focus on a phone call Trump made to the president of the Ukraine. January 20th. Whoops, the first case of the COVID-19 is diagnosed in Washington state. But the top officials and the smart people say don't worry, it won't spread widely. No need for masks. January 31st, the United Kingdom withdraws from the European Union in a move dubbed Brexit. The most important thing to say tonight is that this is not an end, but a beginning, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson said.
The devil doesn't originate anything. His way of doing everything is to look at what does God do and how can I imitate that.
And that's just January. In February, the Iowa Democratic caucuses are a disaster, with results delayed for weeks over quality control issues. Trump is acquitted of the charges in a party line vote, if you consider Senator Mitt Romney a Democrat, which he sorta is, who dubs the virus COVID-19, but still says it should be all fine. And the hashtag #MeToo movement culminates with film producer Harvey Weinstein being found guilty of rape and sentenced to 23 years in prison. In March, numerous Democratic candidates drop out even before Super Tuesday, after which Senator Elizabeth Warren bails out too. Italy locks down the entire country as SARS-CoV-2 sweeps right on through, eventually killing more than 30,000. WHO finally decides that COVID-19 is really bad, declaring the virus a pandemic. Days later, the Dow plunges nearly 3,000 points, the single largest drop in more than 30 years. The Tokyo Olympics are canceled and the Americans go into full lockdown, with governors and mayors shutting down restaurants and most businesses. But the U.S. Surgeon General demands people stop buying masks. In April, COVID-19 cases worldwide top 1 million. Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont drops out, leaving just Joe Biden left standing, all alone. New York State becomes U.S. leader in the COVID-19 cases, a title it will never relinquish. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, California Democratic, says there's no evidence small businesses are suffering. Tens of millions finally get some form of relief from the federal government after being forced away from their jobs in the form of a $1,200 check. But 30 million Americans lose their jobs. COVID-19 deaths double, then triple. U.S. officials now say everyone should wear masks. In May, Asian murder hornets hit the headlines. Government officials tighten lockdowns nationwide, and another 10 million Americans lose their jobs. It all just gets worse and more worse. Then to top it all off, after being stuck at home for over 2 months, add George Floyd, an unarmed black man, dies after a Minneapolis police officer kneels on his neck for over 8 minutes. None of the 4 other officers at the scene were charged for 4 days. Now riots are sweeping through the nation, with peaceful demonstrators also protesting the plight of blacks in America. That brings us up to date. Of course, there's always still more to come. We probably got more protesters by day and some pockets of riots by night, so that's going to equal more craziness than the most contentious presidential election in history. Is there any way we can all just go back to bed and wake up in 2021? Again, I am Michael. This is the Patriot Hour. God bless, Godspeed to each and every one of you. And where we go one, we go all. Make sure you are like, subscribe, and share this video across all social media platforms while you can. We are heavily shadow banned. We appreciate it. All the links are down below. And again, thank you.
I've been waiting for you boys all day. Get on stage.